Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, the podcast where the dogs are the stars of the show. Welcome to episode 83 of the Relaxed Dog Podcast, sponsored by relaxeddog.com. Thank you very much for finding this show. I am your host, Robert Ober, and I hope that you and your dog are well. My guest this week is Priscilla Tang, and we have a delightful conversation reminiscing about years gone by. But first, in some doggy news, we go to Florida, and early one morning, Winnie the Poodle and Lucy the Golden Doodle woke up the household barking because there was another dog in a little bit of distress swimming in the canal at the rear of their place. The humans in the house rescued the other dog from the canal, and when they took it to authorities, it was found that the swimming dog, Sophie, had been missing and was quickly reunited with her family. So well done, Winnie and Lucy. Staying in the States, we go to Minnesota, and Gracie has been credited with saving the life of her family, her human family, after a fire broke out in the early hours of the morning in their trailer. Gracie woke up the children, alerting everyone, barking, and everyone was able to escape without getting any injuries. Gracie's owner had to actually go back into the trailer because after alerting everyone, Gracie hid under the bed, but there was no way that she was being left behind. So well done, Gracie. And now here's this week's interview. Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast. I am here with Priscilla Tang. How are you?
I'm very good, Robert. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So whereabouts in the world are you?
I am located in Hong Kong, in the New Territories.
Okay, wonderful. And who are we going to talk about today?
I'm so excited to talk about Bobby.
Bobby. I think this is going to be an interesting story. So as per usual, I'm going to ask you to take us back in time and tell us how and why you and Bobby met.
Well, Bobby and I met when I was around 5 years old. And at that time, I was living in Malaysia with my family.
Okay.
Bobby.
Yep.
Bobby Bobby came from a litter. Actually, his mother was named Julie, and Julie was a guard dog in a family 10 miles back home in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where Bobby came from.
And what sort of, was it like a rural or in the city, or what sort of area?
Well, the 10 miles was located in the jungles.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of in the northern state of Perak in Malaysia, and we were living about 2 hours drive from the 10 mile. That's where Bobby came from the 10 mile, which was located in the jungles, 2 hours drive from our home in Ipoh. That's the town where we lived in, Ipoh. Okay. It's a tin mining town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, because I know we were speaking before, Bobby wasn't exactly brought into your home as a pet, was he?
Oh no, far away from that. Bobby is not exactly your lap dog, but he was the most intelligent, savvy, street smart, resourceful, and a street fighter. He was a street fighter, very territorial. And we were living in townhouses back in Ipoh, and there would be rows of houses uh, divided by divided by a main road. And he was very territorial around a block. And nowadays, people would frown on street fighters, but to me, he was the most heroic dog ever.
So it was like he had his turf, his sort of area to protect, and that was like, okay, this is my zone.
Yes.
So was that
he was also considered an alpha dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just going back to when they were still in the litter.
Yeah.
What sort of happened after that?
He was brought home by my father. Actually, Bobby belonged to my cousin, but my cousin never really took much interest in Bobby. And actually, Bobby and I struck up a very good relationship, and we practically grew up together.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Yeah.
So do you remember sort of much when he was a very young sort of puppy?
I consider him a yellow dog, like what we have in the movie Old Yeller, the old movie Old Yeller. Mm-hmm. Old Yeller was named because he was a yellow dog. Yep. And Bobby was a short-haired yellow dog. Very sweet-faced. I had only 2 photos of him of a lookalike, but that was because all my photos were thrown away when we moved house.
Oh no!
Yeah, and you know, Robert, Bobby came into my life 50 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still have fond memories. My family and I still have very fond memories of Bobby. And like I said, he came into my life when I was 5 years old, and he was a very he was very protective of our family.
Mm-hmm. So would I be right in saying he stayed sort of like outside the house?
Well, in those days, most folks don't have lap dogs. Most folks are mainly hardworking families, and they keep dogs mainly for protection and guardianship. Mm-hmm. So Bobby is similarly that kind of a dog, and he was kept on the veranda on a chain most of the time. But eventually, my father had to take him into the house because he kept on biting the bullies, the school kids, who came and teased him when they were walking across a veranda to go to school. So each time Bobby bit someone, my father had to dole out some compensation money.
Ooh.
To the ones who were bitten. Mm-hmm. So my father had to take him in. Yeah.
So was that?
So he was a home dog. He was a home dog.
Was that from a really young age that he had that sort of behavior?
I think he started having that behavior after about 1 year old.
Okay. Yes, that's still.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that was that only with strangers?
Well, I have a story which is not exactly involving a stranger. Can I tell it here?
Of course you can.
Well, Bobby was about maybe 4 or 5 years old then. And our family, we have my mother used to play mahjong games with the neighbors. ladies in the neighborhood. And there was one particular lady, she likes to have pastimes like making some passive income. She would one day bring bolts of fabric, long bolts of fabric.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, and she'll bring them home to play mahjong game, and then sell the bolts, the cloth, to the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And after about when the game was over, when the sales have been made, she decided to leave our house, and she took with her some bolts of cloth with her, those that were not sold. When Bobby saw her, he grabbed her hem of her pants and won't let go. He won't let go. And the lady started screaming for my mother. I think Bobby thought those things belong to us.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be taking them away from us. So he was hanging on to the hem of her pants until my mother took him away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's probably thinking
that was not a stranger. That was not a stranger. She was not a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So other cases were strangers. Yes. There's another case of a person who was not a stranger. He was courting my sister, a young man courting my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Bobby was jealous, or maybe he had some sort of ties, with my sister. And one day, this gentleman started playing with Bobby, and Bobby bit him on the shin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know why. I never knew the reason why he bit him.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he thought he wasn't a good fit for your sister, and she should be with somebody else.
No, they're married for 60 years already. They've been married 60 years already this year.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that was not a stranger. But otherwise, most of the kids who got bitten were taunting schoolboys on the way to school.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So the area, did you take Bobby for walks around the area at that time after you were a bit older, when he got a bit older, or?
When he got a bit older, I would take like a metal leash.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have those luxurious leather leash at those time. We're a very rudimentary dog leash, and it was often in chain link. So I used to take him for walks until one evening I saw a cat along the alleyway, and I started to tease the cat. I said, "Hush, hush, hush," and Bobby thought it was a trigger. And it started running after the cat. And I was dragged along the leash, and I scraped myself all over.
Oh, no.
And ever since the time, my dad wouldn't allow me or anyone else to take him on a walk because he was quite strong.
Mm-hmm.
Except my father. My father would take him on walks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those were the times.
And was that sort of like a common thing to do around that sort of area? Did a lot of other people have similar type dogs like that, more for protection for the property?
I think for us then, those days, that was in the 1950s, 60s. That's where that was my era. And during those times, most folks don't have leash dogs. They don't keep leash dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They will mainly guard dogs who were territorial. So those days were very different from nowadays, where people keep dogs in the canals, and they have a nice fluffy beds to sleep on. Our dogs were very hardy, tough dogs. And most of them were non-breeds. And and they would either live on the verandas, or they live inside the homes. They would sleep on cemented floors, and they don't have kennels. Yeah, so they were really very hardy watchdogs. Some of them can be very fierce. Some of them can be very ferocious.
Mm-hmm.
But Bobby was very sweet to me and very patient. Yeah.
Do you remember much interaction between like neighbouring territorial dogs, or did they sort of like accept that this is your area, this is my area?
Yeah.
Or was there much fighting between dogs?
There was not fighting between. The dogs mainly guarded their own territory.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then, because our houses are separated just by a road, there was one electronic shop opposite our home which had a guard dog. And our family all loathed that dog because he was mangy, he was gaunt, he was skeletal, and he was downright ugly. And he was very antagonistic, because he had a mate which was opposite, next to his home, which was diagonally opposite our home. And because of this, Bobby would occasionally come to skirmishes with the gaunt, ugly old dog outside our home.
Okay.
And and that was the only times they fought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just getting that definition of where the boundary should be, and which would sometimes vary a little bit, I guess, between them.
Yes, they overlap.
So how was Bobby when he was younger with your family and you, sort of like growing up as a puppy?
Yeah. Well, he came when I was 5, and when I was about 7, when I was 8 years old, I had an accident when I hurt my bone, my femur. I hurt my femur, and I had to be bedridden with a cast. I'm talking about when Bobby was about maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bedridden. And I'm going to tell a story of our interaction, of the bond between a young Bobby and myself. And that incident happened when I was bedridden, and in our home in Malaysia, when it's rainy, when it's stormy and rainy, cockroaches would be coming out from their homes, and they'll be all over the place. So I'm terrified of cockroaches. And that night it was stormy, and Bobby was outside, and my dad was coming home from the night shift. And at that time, the cockroaches started to fly all over my room. And I was screaming, I was terrified. And then my father came home. He unlocked the door and started to run in to see what was the matter. And Bobby was also running at the same direction, but far ahead of my father. Mm-hmm. And when both of them reached the room, saw the cockroaches flying all over the place, and he heard my screams, and he started to jump on his hind feet to try to take on the cockroaches. He knew what was going on. He knew that I was terrified and was trying to take on as many of the cockroaches as possible. There were, I think, about maybe 7 to 8 or 9 of them. And he actually took some of them. And after taking that, he would be in such disgust, he would throw them away, and then he would jump again and catch more. And then my father quickly went to the kitchen to get a spray. Mm-hmm. And he came back to spray on the room, and then the cockroaches started to leave. And that was when I stopped screaming. And that was the incident between Bobby and I when he was 5 years old and when I was about 7 to 8. Yeah. It was a memorable experience for me. And that really established a deeper bond between Bobby and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can always remember that incident.
Do you remember any other times when he was very protective with you or your family?
Let me tell you about the resourcefulness of Bobby.
Yes.
Because there are other incidents that I have to recall a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell about the resourcefulness of this Bobby. Well, I told you Bobby actually belonged to my cousin. And sometimes my uncle, my eldest uncle, would give Bobby a bath. And I think Bobby was very aversive to water.
Mm-hmm.
So he would still take a bath, and then uncle would chain him to a fence out behind the home. There was a slight hillock where he was chained to the fence, and then he would leave Bobby there to get dry. And on one incident, uncle took him out for a bath and then left him out in the sun for more than 4 hours.
Oh, okay, yep.
That's awful.
Yeah.
You know, Bobby, what Bobby did? He was barking and barking and barking because he was getting dehydrated. And then he dug a hole in the hillock.
Mm-hmm.
And he hid in the hole, in the wet hole to get cool.
To stay cool, yes.
Yes, and he kept on barking for 4 hours until he was hoarse. And that was when we heard him. And then we brought him back. And uncle started to throw cold water on him, and he recovered. I mean, that was how resourceful of him, because I heard of a dog who was put out in the sun for 2 hours and he passed away.
Yeah.
And Bobby was resourceful enough to dig a hole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one taught him to do that before. It was the first time he did that.
Mm.
Yeah, he was so smart.
Mm-hmm. So how was he when he was like outside, when you said when the storms and things would come, or he was always let inside when that happened?
You mean the cockroach incident?
No, when the rainstorms would come, or would would he be inside?
Oh yeah, he'll be inside.
Yep.
He'll be inside. Yeah. And we will give him a piece of cloth to lay on because the cemented floor can be cold at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And did he have a favorite spot inside?
Oh yeah, we have, our townhouse is pretty long. It's more than 100 feet long, and we have the house is divided into different halls: the front hall, the mid hall, the back room, and the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And in the front hall, we have a big marble table where families would gather to have powwows and family dinners on festive days. And other days, I would do my homework on the round marble table. And then Bobby would hang around under the round table, and he would lounge there, and I would rub my feet on his body while I do my homework. And he would love that. He would love that. That was his favorite spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Bobby.
What sort of did he have any favorite games and things that he sort of played?
Oh,
or?
No. When he was younger, we would play tug of war with him using strips of cloth. We would use a tassel to tease him and for him to jump up and down. But other than that, most of us have no notions of having toys at the time for our canine companions. everything was self-made and rudimentary, but the dogs would be happy enough just for that. I think it's the attention that we give them that makes them happy.
I think
Yeah.
so, yes. And to a lot of
Yeah.
people listening, this is a different era.
Yeah, very different.
You couldn't go down to the local pet store and have a choice of 100 toys because that just didn't exist there.
No, sadly no. Yeah. And Robert, regarding the biting habit of Bobby, there's a story behind that after the bites. You know what happened?
What happened?
My father decided to take him to be euthanized.
Oh.
Yeah, but because my father couldn't afford to feed 6 girls and then to pay off those kids who got bitten. And my mother said, "Oh, please, we cannot afford this anymore." So my father reluctantly took him on a car ride. He was placed at the back seat, and father started to take a drive to go to the nearest vet, which was about 3 hours away. And on the way, Bobby somehow sensed it. He put his paw on father's shoulders. He's never done that before. And father was so moved, he couldn't go through the euthanasia. He took Bobby home.
Oh.
And we girls were so jubilated, so happy to see Bobby home. Yeah. So ever since that incident, Bobby never bit anyone after that.
Oh, wow. What is that? A very emotional roller coaster day that would have been.
Yeah, for many, even for Bobby. Yeah, for many of us. Yeah. So he lived to a ripe old age.
Okay. Well, that's a much happier ending.
Yeah. Happy endings. Yes.
You mentioned the vet was 3 hours away. Did Bobby ever have to go to the vet for any other medical reasons? At any time?
Maybe only for inoculations. Other than that, nothing. I mean, our dogs are different from the purebreds, I think, because they are hardy. The genetics are slightly different. So I am a little bit awkward to tell you that Bobby never ate any dog food.
No, that's. I will ask you to explain a little bit more about that one. So, what did Bobby usually eat?
He would eat our leftovers, rice, mainly rice, and beef bones, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of veggies, like what we eat. But no hard bones like chicken bones. We don't give him chicken bones. Yeah.
No, and look, it's not a secret to people that have listened to episodes before. I'm not a fan of kibble, so what he was eating would have been a whole lot healthier.
It could be. There's no studies made on that, but I think it could be right. Yeah.
Did he have any sort of like weird or peculiar habits?
Bobby, let me think back. Queer or well, he was very much a regular dog. I mean, he has no. He would be suspicious of neighbors. The ladies who come in to play mahjong, he would be quite suspicious of them. He would be on the watch out, but he wouldn't go and bite them like he did on the hem of that lady, But he would be looking around, Looking, he would be a lurker. Yeah, his quirkiness is being a lurker. Yeah.
Okay. So
another habit. Oh, Robert, I remember a little habit. When we give him the usual leftovers, he would sometimes get disgusted with it. I think, yeah, he would use his nose to tilt the bowl and tilt it over, and everything would be spilled over. And then my mom would be so mad with him, having to give him a new bowl of rice, Yeah, he would do that occasionally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So really, he was quite. He was not really a softy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very hardy, tough guard dog. Yeah.
You said before your father had to take him in the car to the vet. Did he go in the car often at all to any other places?
When he was younger, yes. When he was younger, an uncle would take the whole group of my siblings, would squash into human. It's called human car, human, and we will all go to a park about 45 minutes away, and then we would run around the park, and Bobby will also be there. Yeah, he would like to run around. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any other dogs at that park or that he played?
Oh no. It was usually empty of people, because, and also there were no such things as dog parks or dog runs or dog spas. We had nothing like that.
No, it was just bits of land that were there.
Yeah, with the land, with turf is grass. There'll be a swing. There'll be a swing and what do you call it? The thing that you sit on, and then I would push the seat, and then it would swing around. A swing, a child swing.
Yep.
And then there'll be a seesaw.
Yep.
Thanks to that. Because, Malaysia is a very shrubby place with lots of shrubs. So we don't have much need for like very finished parks. We would sometimes go to a hill to let our dogs run around, places like that. Yeah.
And did he like getting out in nature and exploring the different smells and things like that?
I don't remember Bobby being a sniffer. I don't remember Bobby being a sniffer.
No.
Just
like more of the physical activity of running around in a new place.
Physical. Yes, physical. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Remember a time when you were like really proud of something that Bobby had done?
Oh yes, the cockroach incident.
Cockroach, yeah.
Yes, and when I really found him a very good companion, and I would always remember the time when I was coming home from school. I was in a convent school for girls, and then I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old then, and he was such a good playmate to me. And then our old townhouse, there would be an empty space on the side, which was exposed to the sun, and the sun came down on that alley, on that patch of ground, the longish patch of space, and Bobby would often sunbathe there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come home at about 2:00 in the afternoon, and then after a brief lunch, I would take my little 6-inch wooden ruler, and then I'll look for Bobby, and he'll be lying there in the sun. And then I start to play with him. I start to butcher him with my 6-inch ruler, and he wouldn't flinch. He would, sometimes I get too rough with him, and then he'll look up, and then he'll lie down again. He wouldn't be bothered while I carry on butchering him. I mean, that was such a nice memory of him. Mm-hmm. I mean, no one else could do that to him, I think.
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask you to say butcher him. I didn't quite.
Yeah, like slicing him with my ruler.
Oh, okay. So like
taking off the.
Like a massage sort of thing with the ruler.
Yeah, massage,
Okay,
yeah.
yep. Now I've got the picture.
When you're small, you're not very good with your hand coordination. It could be quite rough at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he enjoyed that little bit of a rub.
Yeah.
And a scratch.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Yeah.
Very nice. And
Bobby was a very sweet-faced, good-looking dog. I wish I had more photographs of him. Yeah.
did he change much of any other behaviours in the latter stages of his life when he was with you? Do you remember that?
He became less ferocious with people.
Mm-hmm.
He became milder in temper, and then he would become slower in his movements and not so physical. And I could, it's a gentle slow down. Yeah, nothing like getting senile or anything like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
He became more affectionate and yeah.
Do you remember any times when he made you very happy and laughed at something that he did?
Let me see. Well, I didn't laugh when my family did. Can I tell you what happened?
Yeah, you certainly can.
Well, Bobby was little then, and then he came home and had his first meal. I think it was tin sardines. And then I was beside him. I was about I was 5 then, and then I was watching him eat, and I was curious, and I poked my little finger into his mouth, and that was the first time he bit me.
Oh.
And I was crying. I was 5, I was crying, and all my sisters who were older than me. I was the youngest, and my sisters were all laughing at me, So what a silly little girl poking the finger into the dog's mouth, And that was a time when they were laughing over it. Well, yeah, that was the funniest time, Yeah, one of the funniest times, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby never bit me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't a serious sort of bite.
Oh no, yeah. That's why they were laughing at me. Yeah.
Well, when you're a young child, you have to learn.
Yeah, another time, another funny time. Well, I have to say, Bobby would pee outside the home. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't do it inside the home. Yep. I mean, he's got this sense in him. Although we never trained him, he would never ever pee inside the home. Mm-hmm. And on one occasion, Father came home in his midnight shift, and Bobby was chained somehow first. He was chained out inside the home. He was inside the home, and then Father came home, and Bobby was wanting to pee very, very badly. And Father came home and very late, and Bobby couldn't contain himself, and he started to pee for a few long minutes inside the home. Mm. Yeah, and we were so amused by it. Because we were so amused by it. And then Mother was also agitated because she had to wash the place, Yeah. And we could see that Bobby had a good sense to try to contain himself, but couldn't. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was so sweet of him. Yeah, that was one thing we remember as kids. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's very good control, and if it only happened the once, can't argue with that.
One time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time he did that.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any other times where he sort of misbehaved and it was sort of like serious or funny?
Oh, that was another time. Well, about his resourcefulness. Can I talk about it?
You can, yes.
His resourcefulness. Because ever since the dehydration being taken out for 4 hours and then pouring of cold water over his body by my uncle, he started to develop a sort of a crack on his backbone of the skin. And then that skin with a little piece of crack on the skin surface started to fester a bit. So it looked like mange. Is it pronounced mange or mange?
Yeah, or mange. Yeah,
mange. It started to look like mange. And at that time, the police were taking out stray dogs by shooting them. Dogs which had mange. So Bobby was spotted one day on the roads, and the police were coming to the police spotted him, and they were taking the guns to shoot at him. And Bobby hit the banks and started to run home because I talked about the house being a long house, a kitchen at the back.
Yep.
And the kitchen was facing that road. And Bobby came running as fast as he could and started to hit his body against the back wooden door of the kitchen. He started to hit his body, and then it was bang, bang, bang. And then my auntie started to wonder what's going on. And she opened the back door, and Bobby came running into the house to try to escape those police with guns. The police came forward and started to investigate about the dog which had mange. And then my auntie got his license and told the police that this is a domesticated pet and not a stray dog with mange. And then the police then retreated and decided not to cull Bobby. And that was a time that showed the resourcefulness of Bobby, who knew how to attract the right attention to be safe. Yeah, to be safe. He never did that banging again, Robert. Yeah. That was the only one time he banged his body hard against a wooden door. Yeah.
Yep, saved it for when it was needed.
Yeah, saved his own skin. Literally saved his own skin. Yeah, he's so savvy, don't you think so? And so street smart.
Can you recall any other sort of interesting stories about Bobby? Maybe not necessarily like that, but...
Well, he hates cats. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a killer of cats.
He's a killer of cats.
Yeah. we have a drain on the side of the home that leads to the outside, and stray cats would come in through the drains to eat at the food, a place in sometimes, Bobby's food, and Bobby would try to snatch at them. Yeah. So I guess it's the nature of dogs, that they're natural enemies.
And he's defending his property.
Oh, yes. It's very territorial. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you said Bobby lived to a ripe old age. Yeah, roughly how old Bobby did end up living to?
I was in the university when he passed away. When I came home for the vacation, he was gone. And my father told me that he's left. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was always in the one house?
I think he died mercifully. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly sounds like a character.
Oh, yeah. I've never heard stories like that from any other dogs. My sisters still have very fond memories of Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
And especially my brother-in-law who got bitten. He still has a scar on the shin, and he would show off his scar to us when we were talking about Bobby.
Mm.
He still does this, you know. He still does this now. Yeah.
Yep. It has been a very interesting conversation. Going back,
yeah, loved it. Yeah.
Going back a little bit to a different place in the world, shall we say?
Very different, won't you say so? Yeah. Oceans and decades away.
How do you think, just as a question, how do you think he would cope in a modern world like now?
Again, please the question, Robert.
If Bobby was around now, how do you think he would sort of like be? Would he enjoy it, or how do you think he would?
I think I would get Billy Groom to train him. Otherwise, he's beyond change. Bobby will be beyond change. Yeah, Billy will be a last hope for him. Yeah, he could be trainable. He's an intelligent dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, if, like we said, there's with human beings, we asked dogs to do different things years ago compared to what we ask them to do now.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, again, anything else coming to mind that you would like to add before we go?
I would like to add my website.
Yeah,
if
certainly.
You don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I know you do a few dog-related things. Do you want to let people know what they are?
Yes, I'm a pet portrait artist, and Bobby is pivotal to my choice of this profession. I have been through a lot of other professions related to design and art. I was an architecture graduate of the university in Singapore. I have a Bachelor of Architecture degree, and I have run through the gamut of fashion design illustration, which I loved. And now I'm into pet portraits.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said again, it was Bobby who led me full circle into taking on this profession. And I can say in the middle of it, after I reached my secondary education in back in Malaysia, I wanted to become a vet surgeon like a James Harriet, the author of All Things, All Creatures Great and Small.
Mm-hmm.
But my hopes were dashed because I was slotted into the art stream. And according to the education in Malaysia then, only science stream students can take on medical studies.
Okay.
So my hopes were dashed. And then somehow I wound up taking architecture in Singapore and then practiced in New York City and Hong Kong as an assistant architect. And when I immigrated to the States with my honky husband, we spent 9 years in New York City, and I went back to school to study fashion, to study illustration. And I changed entirely from an architecture career professional to taking up fashion illustration. And I did fashion illustration for 20 years. But finally, I came back full circle, and I changed again at the age of 67. to pet illustration. I'm 71 years old this year.
Wow.
A septuagenarian, but still zapping at it.
Absolutely. It's just
Therefore, there's no excuse for anyone who's listening to throw away the towel, no? Never give up on your dreams. And my dreams for Bobby are made manifest through this profession of pet portraits.
just goes to show just another example of the influence that a dog has had.
Exactly.
And the change in career and pathways that someone's taken, even though there might be a little bit of a time period between that, as you've just shown.
True, yes.
So if
it's been like a meandering navigation, you know, and sometimes people always come full circle if they allow it.
So where should people find you if they want to have a look at some of your artwork or contact you?
Okay, I have a website. It's called petprissy.com. Let me spell it. It's P for Peter, E for England, T for Thailand, and it's petprissy.com.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Thank you, Robert. It's been so nice talking to you, Robert.
Likewise, Priscilla. It's been a very enjoyable conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Thank you to our new listeners in Tacoma in the US and also in Des Moines in the US. I'm hoping that they found out about the show because one of our listeners told them how awesome the stories are about how awesome dogs are. If you could spread the word, it would be appreciated. You might also like to share, like, subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to this on. Until next week, stay safe and remember, your dog is family.